Welcome, everyone. Good morning to those who are gathered here in the sanctuary and to all who are joining online today. We begin our service with a musical prelude by Scott DeVoe. Thank you, Scott. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville. My name is Tori Goodlow. My pronouns are she, her, and I am pleased to be weaving worship this morning with Rev. Tim Temerson and music director Scott DeVoe. This sanctuary was built over 70 years ago on the homeland of the Monacan people and was once cared for by enslaved people from Africa and their descendants. We honor all who have dwelt here and all in our congregation whose lives led to this moment of our gathering. I invite us to take a moment to greet others. Those online may unmute and say hello, and those here in the sanctuary or social hall are welcome to greet your neighbors, especially those you may not know.
Good morning. It's good to see faces I know, and even the blank spaces with names on them.
Good morning, everybody. I'm a little dark here, I see.
Yeah, it's kind of
There
dark.
we go.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's nice to see the church so full too.
Yeah.
I wanted to note that I did hear the piano, but maybe it was a little more quiet than the speaker.
I wanted to come to church today in person, but I ran out of time to get there. Too much going on.
We offer a special welcome to newcomers and invite you to join us for fellowship after the service in the social hall. Please feel free to use one of our red coffee mugs, which are for visitors, and we encourage you to stop by the connections table near the monitor in the social hall. Seating is also available in the social hall where there is a live stream of the service. Everyone is welcome in the sanctuary, but if you need a roomier space, the social hall can be a good option. Many thanks to all the folks helping us share worship, both here and online, our greeters, ushers, and hospitality and logistics team, and special thanks to our AV tech, Rachel Buckland, supporting the dual platform, both online and here on Rugby Road. And now we have greetings from board member Kay Frazier.
Good morning. Welcome to everyone, and a special welcome for who you are, bringing your true self to the congregation today. I am so pleased to be standing here today because I have a special announcement. As you may know, we were fundraising to make improvements to the Summit House porch, and we have exceeded that fundraising goal.
Wow.
So for those that may not be aware, the Summit House porch columns foundations are failing. And there's rotted wood, the ramps are failing. The porch is actually pulling away from Summit House. So we really needed to do this project. But it's because of all of you, not just those who donated to the fundraising, but those who pledge and honor their pledges, staff and ministry for being such good stewards of our finances that enabled us to have reserve funds. Each of you that puts $1 in the plate or $100 in the plate on a Sunday morning, those one-time donations, all contributed to this project that will cost us about $38,000. So thank everyone for making this happen. And it speaks well of us as a congregation. So I'm glad to be with each of you this morning. I will be in the social hall if you have any questions or want to just talk to a board member. So welcome.
Thank you, Kay. Here are our announcements this morning. Today is a Children's Worship Sunday, meaning the children will be sung out to the parlor, which is where they should be picked up at 12:15. Parents and caregivers are invited to enjoy refreshments in the social hall until 12:15. The UU Seville Ministry for Earth is hosting an informational table in the social hall after the service today. Please stop by to learn various ways you can better care for the earth and sign a letter of protest against proposed legislation harmful to the earth. Next Saturday, December 9th from 2 to 4:30 p.m. at church is our annual winter holiday party. Depending on the number of volunteers we have, we will host multiple crafting tables, including ornament making, wreath making with fresh greens, card making, and much more. We will potluck snacks. We hope everyone young and young at heart can come to celebrate with our UU family this year. Volunteers are needed. Please sign up to help in the social hall after worship today. Next Sunday, December 10th, is our annual multi-generational holiday giving tree service at 11 a.m. This service is designed for all ages. We invite you to come sing, share, and celebrate the season in community. During the service, gift cards to be distributed to those whose holiday funds are tight will be gratefully received. We partner with the family support team at Greer Elementary School to share these gifts. We also offer support to those in our own congregation whose funds are tight. If you would like to be a Giving Tree recipient, please contact Rev Leah. Next Sunday at 12:15, we will offer our monthly newcomer circle. If you are new to UU Seville and want to learn more about us, please plan to join us for 30 minutes of relaxed conversation with Rev Tim and several lay leaders. All are welcome to join us for refreshments and conversation in the social hall following the service.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving holiday and that you're feeling rested and refreshed. And we're so excited to share worship with you this morning. We gather here in this place of love and peace to worship, to seek the truth, to grow in love, to join in service.
To celebrate life's beauty and find healing for its pain, to honor our kinship with each other and with the earth,
To create a more compassionate world, beginning with ourselves.
to wonder at the mystery that gave us birth, to find courage for the journey's end, and to listen for the wisdom that guides us in the quietness of this moment. Come, let us worship together. As Margaret and Elena lights the flame of our chalice this morning, please join me in saying our unison chalice lighting words. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. And now join me in the hand motions. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is a church of open minds. This is a church of helping hands. This is a church of loving hearts.
Yes.
Our hymn today is Around. We haven't done it for a while, but it's a good round. Can we have the words up there? Yes, remember this one? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where? Yeah, we're going to do that all the way through. We're going to do all three parts. We're going to try to do it, trying to divide this up into three parts. The front section here will be one part, and then back and over to the side, and anybody in the balcony who joins in can be in part number 3. Let's give it a try. You guys start. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. 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 Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle, and we're going to repeat that, right? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Thank you very much.
Nice work, everyone. Now Scott will play as we sing our children out.
As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness that we learn guide our hearts till we return. As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness that we learn guide our heart till we return.
Let us now be together for a time of centering and meditation with these words from David Rankin. There must be a time when we cease speaking to be fully present with ourselves. There must be a time when we exclude clamor by listening to nothing whatsoever. There must be a time when we forgo our plans as if we had no plans at all. There must be a time when we abandon conceits and tap into a deeper wisdom. There must be a time when we stop striving and find peace within. Let us now take a moment to be together in the shared silence. Blessed be. We are an interconnected community that cares for one another. Part of how we embody this care is by making time each week to share the joys and sorrows we hold in our hearts. As we hold the joys and sorrows of our lives, we now invite you to come forward to place a glass stone in water. Those online can type their joys or sorrows into the chat. Ellen Longmore from our pastoral care team will be present to offer support, and Ellen will be available for a few minutes after the service in the back corner of the sanctuary if you are in need of pastoral support or just need someone to listen. Those online can contact the pastoral care team at pastoral@ucharlottesville.org. Let us begin. Charlotte's community offers its love and support to what is closest to our hearts. Another way we show our care for one another is in sharing our financial gifts with our community and our congregation. Our social action collection for the month of December is for the UU Congregation of Charlottesville's Meal Packet Program. And I now invite Margaret and Michael Gorman to come forward to tell us about meal packets.
Hello, is it on? You can hear me? Okay, there it is. All right, so I have Mike here with the props. Okay, so Mike is here with the props. And first of all, thank you so much. I think most people in the church are familiar with meal packets because we've been making them since 2010. For those who aren't familiar, put the box down, Michael. I'm going to have you hold things. This is a meal packet. It holds enough food to feed one person for one day. It has cutlery in it, napkins, things that can be eaten cold or maybe put in a microwave, and a note in it wishing someone well. We've made over 7,000 of these over the years in our church to deliver and donate to the University of Virginia Medical Center social work office. When a social worker or a nurse or a doctor becomes aware that someone has come to our area from far away for care, once the loved one is admitted in the hospital, they don't need to worry about eating. But the people who these go to don't have enough money to buy food or feed themselves while they're here. So these go to the ER, particularly to the pediatric and neonatal intensive care units. They go to people whose moms whose babies were born too soon, or grandparents who are there with a child who's had to have surgery, and also to people who have outpatient cancer care and organ transplants. We have a great relationship, and I've heard so many stories over the years from the people at UVA about how not only does it feed a person, but it helps their spirits. And it also helps the people who work at UVA to see that somebody is suffering just a little bit less because of our generosity. So now I've got a couple other props. Fast food cutlery. Thank you, everybody. When you save your fast food cutlery and donate it to the church, we don't have to use your generous donations to buy forks, knives, spoons, and napkins. And that actually saves us a lot of money, and it gets stuff out of your house. So thank you so much. Keep collecting. Elizabeth Breeden is wonderful at kind of finding it and then telling us to go home and make 300 sets, 400 sets of cutlery, as I did last week with a friend of the congregation. Way back in the day when we first started, okay, we had this beautiful, handy little dandy banner that we would put up. Let's see. Yep, put that down. Okay, how am I doing? Almost out of time. I'm almost done. Okay. All right. So we put up this little banner on the days when we would make meal packets. And I wanted you to see it because I can't draw, and I was so proud of that when I made that. So yeah, we put it up. We've had covenant groups make them. Thank you so much. We've had done outside in a park during COVID. We've made them in the social hall. And we all started it off as just a one-off fun little project for the children in the RE that it just kept going. I'm hoping that over the next year, thanks to Laura Horn, next prop, she came over and interviewed me last week and wrote up a draft of the University Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville meal packet program with the idea that it's, I think this is going to be around for a while. So it's time to form a committee. And I hope that you will consider coming in to be a shopper or supervise making cards or be a liaison to the hospital to work with the social workers. And everybody's so nice, and it's really fun, and it's a real feel-good project. So I think the last thing I wanted to close with is a story of a thank you letter that we received here at the church from a mom whose little boy, they were from Culpeper County, and she wrote that they were just waiting to be discharged, and you know how that takes time. And they were both very hungry. So the nurse or whoever gave them a meal packet, and they were so grateful for this that her son noticed that these were his favorite items from his lunchbox. The pudding cup and the applesauce she mentioned specifically. And she loved the note that went in that somebody had signed and put a label on it saying that's how she knew to send us the thank you note, because we have a label from our church. And she thought the picture was beautiful and the sentiment was uplifting. Well, unfortunately, things changed and the little boy did not live. And what she wrote about was how grateful she was that she was able to give him the nurturing of feeding him for one last time. And the last things that he ate in his life were food that he really enjoyed. So thank you so much for your generosity. I'm so happy and grateful that we can continue this in our congregation.
So wonderful.
Thank you, Margaret and Michael. Rachel, will you please show us the social action slide for giving for those who would like to make a donation right now? In addition to giving online, if you would like to give today with cash or check, please use the social action collection envelopes here in the sanctuary and place your offering in the collection plate. Please do not seal the envelopes as we reuse them. Along with our social action collection each week, we invite everyone into the spiritual practice of generosity by giving to the ministry of our congregation. Through your pledges and with the weekly Sunday morning offering, together, our financial gifts support and sustain our congregation. This is our shared ministry. During the music that follows, you may choose to make your Sunday morning offering by using the text address or going to our website. Here in the sanctuary, you may place cash or checks in the collection plates as they are passed. Let us dedicate all of the many gifts we share with one another by saying, "We accept your gifts with gratitude. May we use them wisely for the highest good." Thank you, Scott. Our reading this morning is adapted from the work of the great transcendentalist writer and editor, Margaret Fuller. It is titled, Recollection of a Mystical Experience. The experience she describes took place when she was 21 years old. It was Thanksgiving Day, and I was obliged to go to church or exceedingly displease my father. I almost always suffered much in church from a feeling of disunion with the hearers and dissent from the preacher. But today, more than ever before, the services jarred me with their grateful and joyful tone. I was wearied out with mental conflicts and in a mood of childlike sadness. I felt within myself great power and generosity and tenderness, but it seemed to me as if they were all unrecognized, as if it was impossible that they should be used in life. After the service, I walked away over the fields as fast as I could. This was my custom at the time when I could no longer bear the weight of my feelings. I went on till I came to where the trees were thick about a little pool, dark and silent. I sat down. Suddenly the sun shone out with that transparent sweetness, like the last smile of a dying lover. In that moment, I saw that there was no self, that selfishness was all folly, and that it was only because I thought the self to be real that I suffered, that I only had to live into the idea of all, and all was mine. This truth came to me, and I received it unhesitatingly, so that I was for that hour taken up into God, dwelling in the ineffable, the unutterable. When I came back, the moon was riding clear above the houses. I went into the churchyard and there offered a prayer as holy as any I know now. Since that day I have suffered, as I must suffer again, till all the complex be made simple. But I have never again been in discord with the grand harmony.
Thank you, Tori. I think you channeled Margaret Fuller quite well. Not that I ever met Margaret Fuller, but you know. So, well, let me just begin before I start talking about Margaret Fuller and mysticism. Let me just say how good it is to be back with you after a little bit of time away. And I hope everyone, as I said earlier, had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. I was able to spend some quality grandpa time in Massachusetts. And I want to thank everyone here who made that time away possible, including Reverend Leah and Scott and our worship weavers like Angela and Tori and others, Laura Wallace, who I understand led a wonderful service last Sunday. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Margaret Fuller, she's not super well known anymore. Margaret Fuller was a writer and editor, as Tori said, a journalist, an early feminist, I think that's fair to say, and a key leader of the literary, cultural, and spiritual movement that came to be known as Transcendentalism. Of course, Emerson and Thoreau get most of the Transcendentalist headlines. I think it's fair to say from the reading and research that I've done that Margaret Fuller not only was just as important as the two of them, but probably had the finest mind of any of the Transcendentalists. And she, of course, was a friend and colleague of Emerson's and Thoreau's, the Alcott family, and so many others. Now, Margaret Fuller was also a Unitarian, although, as you heard from our reading, not a very happy one. That was a Unitarian church that she was fleeing from. I don't know, maybe that's not the right word. Now, I have to say that whenever I preach about one or more of the Transcendentalists, I find myself paying tribute to a extraordinary group of cultural, literary, and spiritual radicals whose vision of religion continues to play and have an enormous influence on our faith tradition. But during their lifetimes, the Transcendentalists were pretty harsh and unforgiving critics of really all organized religion, but especially the Unitarian side of our tradition. Emerson, Thoreau, Fuller, they were all ex-Unitarians. I mean, I think they really were still Unitarians. Many of them wrote of Unitarianism's deadening effect and referred to what they heard preached from many Unitarian pulpits as being, and this really hits hard, corpse cold. Ouch. That was actually Emerson that said that, but now it's at this point in this, when I've told this story in the past, that I frequently, and I'm about to do it again, get sidetracked by this defensive urge to stick up for my dull and corpse cold ministerial colleagues from yesteryear. And I have to tell you, I feel especially sorry for this gentleman, the picture's rather blurry. This is Reverend Barzillai Frost, love his first name. He was the minister at First Parish in Concord, Massachusetts, which of course is the town that many of the Transcendentalists hung out in. In fact, it was poor Reverend Frost whom Emerson famously criticized in his divinity school address, which is still read widely today, when Emerson speaks of once listening to a preacher whose sermon was so dull and lifeless that Waldo vowed he would never set foot inside a church again, and who he accused of leaving the worshiper feeling defrauded and disconsolate. Oh, wow, that's a pretty harsh critique to live down in the pages of history. And I have to say, I am very relieved that Waldo is not sitting in the back pew today, which he did when he was not out on the lecture circuit, sitting back there judging Reverend Frost, who was standing in this position here. Now, I have to tell you that I felt so bad for poor Barzillai that I tried to do a little research on him, and I tracked down an excerpt from the eulogy that was delivered at his memorial service. And it said that he was a man of great cheerfulness of spirit and offered unfailing support to his congregants, and especially to those who were sick and dying. In other words, while he may not have been a great preacher, old Barzillai did some darn good ministry. And I have to confess, I wish I could go into every edition of Emerson's essays and add a little footnote that says, you know what, this corpse cold, dull minister, he might have been a bad preacher, but he was a good guy and a kind soul. Okay, I got that out of my system. So let's get back to Margaret Fuller now. So after enduring what felt like another dull and deadening Unitarian worship service, she takes a long walk in the woods and then has a life-changing experience when she encounters beams of sunlight among trees near a small pool of water. In that moment, young Margaret Fuller realizes, as she says so beautifully, that there's no separate self, and that for the first time in her life, she experiences this deep connection that she refers to as the all. As Fuller says so beautifully, she was taken up into God, dwelling in the ineffable and the unutterable. Now, again, I have to say that as much as I admire Emerson and Thoreau's beautiful descriptions of their experiences in nature, Margaret Fuller's, I think, speaks most closely to those moments in my own life when I have experienced that deep connectedness to something greater than myself. Those experiences have frequently occurred in beautiful, breathtaking places, moments when I've looked on with awe at a fabulous sunset, or one extremely memorable time when I stood atop a cliff in southwest England, in Cornwall, looking out over the English Channel during a snow squall. Now, it isn't all about nature. I've certainly had those powerful and transcendent moments of abundant joy when I've been with family, like holding that new granddaughter. And I just want to say, and again, this is me being a parish minister here, contrary to the Transcendentalists, I find deep connectedness inside Unitarian Universalist worship services. I've also been inspired while listening to ministerial colleagues like Reverend Leah and many others preaching inspiring sermons. So there, take that, Waldo. And I have to say, it is that deep sense of connection and well-being that are at the heart of mysticism in the mystic way. Mysticism, if we could define it, is about experiencing, connecting, realizing, having a taste, if you will, of one's deep connectedness to, and I'm going to say more about to what in a minute. It's about experiencing something greater, something that is at the center of and yet just beyond our everyday awareness, something that enables us to realize, in the words of Abraham Joshua Heschel, who I've quoted to you several times before, helps us realize our, and these are Heschel's words, our adjacency to eternity. I love that language so much. Now, I know some of the terminology that I'm using here to describe mysticism is kind of vague, imprecise, and okay, mysterious. But in many ways, that's the whole point. Mysticism and mystical experiences are not about having all the answers, having the correct, true, right beliefs, or putting our experiences into a particular theological, religious, or creedal box. In fact, you don't have to be religious, spiritual, or a believer in anything to be a mystic. I think mysticism and mystical experiences are ultimately about being open to awe and wonder, open to that deep sense of connection, open to experiencing, I think, that unity and oneness that Margaret Fuller experienced, a unity and oneness we may never fully understand, but that somehow connects us to what she calls the all. Now, let me say a word about the connection that Fuller makes between her mystical experience and God. I know that the idea of God, the concept of God, the belief in God, it can be confusing, maybe problematic, and for some, even hurtful based on past experiences. And the word God may conjure images or ideas that look and feel very different from what Margaret Fuller experienced that day. In fact, when it comes to the whole God question, I don't think there can be any doubt that while the Transcendentalists believed in the existence and the reality of something they called God, they most certainly, and they're very clear about this, did not find the divine in doctrines, dogmas, or creeds. They didn't believe in a God who judges or excludes, or a God who resides above humankind or looks like an old white guy with a long beard. Instead, what the transcendentalists called God is that, and here's language again, that overarching, sometimes overwhelming connection and connectedness. That connectedness that in moments takes our breath away and that transformed the despair and anguish Margaret Fuller was feeling into peace and serenity and joy. I know that when I have been blessed with those kinds of experiences, something happens to me. My breathing calms. Whatever anxiety I'm feeling diminishes. And all the burdens that I'm carrying that are weighing me down, they just seem to fade into the background. As I stand on a beach looking out over a vast ocean or gaze up at a clear night sky with beautiful stars, or sing a moving hymn with all of you, I become lost, but lost in the best sense of the word. Lost in the beauty of what I am feeling and experiencing in the moment. At that time, there is no, and this is what I think was similar to what Margaret Fuller experienced, there's no separation, no division, no us versus them, or me against the world. In those blessed moments, there's only love and connection. As I awaken, realize that I am part of that endless ocean, that I am part of that awe-inspiring sky, that I am part of that beautiful hymn. And as I experience that unity and that peace, I invariably find myself wondering what it all means. I have to say that I never come to a definitive conclusion or a final answer. You know what? That's okay, because the mystic way invariably leads me back to mystery rather than to obvious or easy answers. Not that answers don't sometimes come, but no matter how many times I stare up at those stars or gaze out at that vast ocean, I am always left at some level with ambiguity rather than certainty, with more questions than answers. Inevitably, I always find myself living in the mystery, a mystery that calls and inspires me to keep seeking, to keep exploring. Now, there was a time in my spiritual journey when I thought having more questions and not very many answers was not a good thing. Questions about God or ultimate reality meant that one was spiritually lost or confused. It also meant that my immortal soul was at risk, and that a one-way ticket to a very hot and unpleasant place might very well be in my future. But then I found this religion, Unitarian Universalism, and my whole attitude and understanding of mystery and questioning changed. Unitarian Universalism is a religion that embraces and celebrates mystery, that finds inspiration in our questions, and that invites and encourages us to seek and to explore as we experience the beauty and wonder of life. One of the things I love most about being a Unitarian Universalist is our willingness to affirm that we don't have all the answers, that we are still and will always be learning and growing, and that questions about God and the nature of existence require, first and foremost, that we explore them from a place of openness and humility. A humility that embraces the mystery that surrounds us and that always leaves our mind and our heart and our spirit open to new experiences, new truths, new ways of understanding ourselves and the universe. And that takes me back to those moments of deep connection that are at the heart of the mystic way. When we open our hearts and our minds and our spirits, we may find answers to those questions, or we may not. I know I'm still searching, still experiencing, still questioning. I don't know if I'll ever find a single truth or a final answer that captures everything I experience in those moments. If and when I do, I can guarantee you it will make its way into a Sunday morning sermon. But for now, I'm content to live in the mystery of a world and a universe that is so beautiful, so breathtaking, and that fills my heart with awe and wonder. A world and a universe I'll never fully understand, but that is always calling to me, always inspiring me, always welcoming me home. And you know, perhaps it is that same spirit of openness and humility that can guide us as we look for answers to the many challenges our world is facing. I don't know, I'm not very confident that there is a single answer or a single solution that will right all the wrongs or heal all the wounds. I'm guessing there are probably many different answers and many different solutions, many of which we probably haven't even discovered or thought about yet. But what I do know is that if we are to find a way forward, we will need to begin by listening to one another, by remembering that none of us has all the answers, and by being open to the experiences and the ideas of others. And while we may not know where those experiences and ideas will take us, I think they will ultimately reveal that in the midst of all of our differences and all that divides and separates the human family, we are ultimately one and deeply connected. There is an underlying unity in the midst of our diversity, a oneness in the midst of our variety. Perhaps that realization is the beginning of an answer and a path. And friends, may we join together and journey together on that path of oneness and connection. And let's journey together with openness, with humility, and always with great, great love. Amen, and blessed be. So let's now rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 1008. The lyrics will be on the screen. When our heart is in a holy place, please rise.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes. Our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. When we tell a story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind,
Tori, would you please extinguish the chalice? I leave you with these words from my colleague, Sarah York. Every day we receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and renewed by their grace, move with love and kindness into the future. Friends, be well, take very good care of yourselves, of each other, and of the world. May your days be blessed with joy and love, and may your heart always find itself in a holy place. Blessed be, and go in peace.